But I look at them as the outliers.
Outliers, right? Absolutely.
I work in an entire organization of outliers.
Yes.
An entire company of outliers. These are people who walked into the university campus determined that, I'm going to make something of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
These are people who are 16, 17, 18 years old, waking up and grinding and doing what they need to do because they're determined to do so. Those unstoppable bunch are the ones who are the senior leaders, the managers, the most successful people. And mind you, a lot of these corporations are also just recycling.
Hi guys, welcome to Kinganda. My name is Jenny Tamaya and this is the Repat Podcast.
What's up, people? DJ Maintain. Why are you always dropping on me like that? We go somewhere else. Yo, people, DJ Maintain. Hey, DJ Maintain, born in London to Caribbean parents, living in Kampala now for 5 years, DJ and producer. What up?
Okay.
What up, world? It's your boy, Master Gabs. American born, Ugandan proudly by heritage and by love. And I am allergic to average.
Okay.
I'm definitely below average. My name is O'Shea Duke Jackson, African American, and I am quite drunk off this wine. So we're going to see where it go.
He's not.
Sacramento, California, West Coast stand up.
Yeah, he's not. So O'Shea shared this link with me. It's from Patrick Bitature's YouTube channel.
Yep.
He does a podcast with a daughter, Natalie Bitature. So yeah, let's watch it and react to it.
So the challenges I think we have here, as someone who employs a lot of people in my job as chief of staff, I do so many interviews every single week, but there's such a gap in skills. There's so many people who are applying for jobs every day, whether they're graduates or not. And then there's so many jobs that people need to fill, but there's such a big gap in the kind of quality that the universities are churning out or the vocational schools. And yet when someone comes into the workplace, they don't have the skills to manage. The system is so outdated. There's no soft skills. There's no training. There's nothing that's practical or useful. It's all theoretical and technical. I can't tell you how many interviews I sit in and they'll give me their certificates. I am proficient in Excel, in Word, in this. They have never touched a computer. They sat in a computer class and someone explained Excel on a blackboard. As an employer, what am I supposed to do with that? It means now, the first 3 months, you're just training them. They don't know how to write emails. They don't know how to solve problems. They don't know how to work in a team. Communication, the most basic thing, is such a struggle for anyone who we have to onboard. And it's just a burden now that employers have to take on in Uganda.
Yeah, so basically what she's saying is that Ugandan universities are not producing the best quality of employees or workers. Now, all of you are businessmen, yeah? So is that what you think is happening? Do you get to experience that?
Yeah, let me start that off, man. I know but he gonna one up me because that's what he tried to do on the podcast. But I think like for the people that want, because I'm interacting, because this podcast and the Kinganda YouTube channel, it's inspiring people, even Ugandans. I see a lot of our brothers and sisters that live in the DMV or Boston. I think this is an important thing that Natalie said. Of course, they're in real big business, different industries, things like that. And for what I noticed for like some of the diasporans coming back to Africa in general, because it's not a Ugandan problem. I think it's a problem that you can see that's permeating through sub-Saharan Africa. And I get comments from Ugandans living abroad and, they want to come back. And it's a lot of them in Amsterdam, London, Boston, African Americans. And what you're going to notice is that this is not my own idea, but I saw this. In America, the education system speaks to the industries that get ready for those people coming into the economy. Okay? So if you come out of, let's say, Prairie View A&M and a mechanical engineer, you'll be ready for Chevron. They'll recruit you. There's unpaid internships to recruit you, so you know what you've learned theoretically. But there's summer internships. One of my best friends, he grew up in, a colleague of mine rather, he grew up in Detroit. He was doing summer internships at Ford. Practicality. So by the time he got out of his university, he was able to work for Ford and then went into Chevrolet, which is, GMC, Cadillac, Buick and all that. And now he's doing something different. But in Uganda, in many African countries, although I will say Kenya is a lot better because Kenya has technical schools. Technical schools is all about practicality, while university training is about theory. Medical school is different because it's both. You have to learn it, and then you have to put in those didactic hours. And I went to medical school, so I know that. But what you find out as an employer here in Uganda is that when somebody comes to you, unless you're very lucky, they have absolutely no idea how to do the job. And as an employer, you can see there's an opportunity in the industry, but you can't seize the opportunity unless your infrastructure is undergirded and the talent or the possibilities of the employee to do the job. There's a lot of opportunities in Africa. Don't mean you can get it. But do you have the skill to get it? Like, this company was saved by Satati, who was a Kenyan, because he went to, I forgot, what school did you go to? Multiple choice, yes. In Thika, right? Yeah. Then he went to the year internship, which is practicality by DSTV, multiple choice, right? And so he went to that school, and then he came here. He changed everybody in the culture of the workplace, but he knew what he was doing. He's excellent in sound. He's the best editor we have, probably one of the best in Africa. Even Warden Maya came here. The first person Warden Maya asked about was, where's Satati? He asked about nobody else. Where's Satati? Right?
Yeah.
But in Africa, what you see is you're dealing with most people that have the potential to do the job, but they can't do it. Mm-hmm. So most people coming from us from the West, we're used to the state universities, the HBCUs, the Ivy Leagues. Most people can get into the industry and they can adapt real quick. If you don't know it, you can adapt. Your skills are transferable. They're able to go from even one industry or similar, and you can adapt within 3-week training course. Here in Uganda and in Sub-Saharan Africa, the problem is that the person can put everything on there. I have this training in it, and you get them on the computer, they don't know how to read an email. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're like, well, you're fired. Here's the problem with that. How many people do you go through that when you realize you're just like a hamster spinning the wheel? Mm-hmm. You can't fire everybody. It's like, okay, this person doesn't come on time. I want to fire this person. And we did that. Me and Joan will tell you, we lost the entire business with me and my American mentality. But this is what, like you said, this is Uganda, right? Yeah. When you come into diaspora, you got to understand that you have a lot of intelligent people and bright people, but the university system, maybe didn't do the job. You don't know how they got the degree. Did they bribe? Mm-hmm. Or did somebody just pass them because they just felt like passing them? So we're thinking that they can do the job. But really, they have not had any experience. There was no internship. And there was no company. We're looking for somebody to do. Most entrepreneurs from the West want to come to Africa and get like, okay, I can get the same talent and then pay them less and get maximum profit. And it's not that way. Mm-hmm. You may be dealing with somebody for 6, 7, 8 months before they can actually contribute. And the first thing I will always suggest before we pass the mic to Brother Agabe is, does that person pay attention to detail? Are they fastidious? That's the number one thing. If they pay attention to detail, you can teach anybody in the industry, but they got to learn. Because a lot of employees in Africa can contribute to your business in the main way once they understand how the industry or the business works. But they can't understand, nobody can understand anything if they don't pay attention to details. The biggest problem that I have with employees or on my team is, are you paying attention to detail? Some people are born with that skill. It's innate. Some are not. And what you get here in Africa is people are just trying to get through the job, trying to do it fast, maximize the profit, and not do it very well. That's the difference between most people and somebody like Satati, where he's very detail oriented. Okay, this is wrong. We need this. Here's how we fix this to make this happen. But you don't see that here. Mm-hmm. Most people are just trying to do the job. I want to get paid. And for us as Americans coming from that world where you have to be good, that's what the problem is. And I think in the Ugandan society is like, we have people that have a lot of potential, but maybe in their college, they didn't learn very much stuff that's useful. Mm-hmm. And so when they come into the real world, that's a problem in America too, not just here. Just don't have the ability to do the job up front. Mm-hmm. But do you have the patience to teach this person the business in 4, 6, 8 months, a year? That's the question that we're dealing with here in Sub-Saharan Africa. Mm-hmm.
So speaking as somebody who's not spent a day in any academic institution in UG, right? I've not spent a day attending any class at a university at any level here, right? Through my MBA, I was educated in the US. But I have an observation that I think applies very clearly. And to me, like a lot of what we read about in the papers around PLE, right? The primary leavers exam and all this other stuff, right? The Uganda public education system and the schools that are the most prestigious schools are the ones that produce students that get the best scores, right? Yes. And then getting the best score is ultimately what unlocks your access to scholarships to get to university.
Okay.
Government scholarship. If I want to be placed in this faculty, if I want to, progress forward in this course of study, I need to get a high test score in order to be able to do that, right? To enter the university stream, right? Now, a lot of people take university courses based upon what they perceive to be the most direct path to a lucrative career.
Yes.
After you graduate, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not even necessarily based off of what I'm passionate about. It's based off of, I feel like I know that I need to have an ACCA certification in order to be able to progress. So I'm going to become an accountant, right? Just for argument's sake, right?
Yeah.
Whereas when I was coming up, right, in school, in high school, and I was starting to think when I was 15 years old about the final 2 years of my high school being the time that prepares me to be an ideal candidate to apply to the universities that I wanted to go to, we had to start thinking about extracurricular activities.
There you go.
We had to start thinking about, do you take a foreign language? We had to start thinking about
volunteering.
Do you do community service?
There you go.
Right? Are you volunteering in the community? What kind of a human being are you that demonstrates that you have ambitions and passions that are not necessarily academic, that can allow you to be a better part of this collective community that we're trying to foster at the university, right? So when I see university students coming out, I have first class this and I have first class that, yet they're failing to get jobs in their chosen field. Again, a lot of it comes back to the fact that, yes, you studied hard for the sake of being able to pass an exam, but does that prepare you for the rigors of that career which you now want to dive into, right? So we really have a lot of work to do as the leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, senior managers who are ushering people into this workforce to kind of reset the understanding of what excellence means, right? You're not excellent just by virtue of the fact that you've passed exams with a high scoring mark, right?
Right.
How charismatic are you? If you want to get into a sales role, how charismatic are you, right? Can you pull something out of your pocket and just give me an enthusiastic sales pitch about it, right?
Yeah.
How confident are you as a communicator, right? How do you embrace the need to show up on time, to be prompt, right?
Yeah.
To be attentive when you come to meetings. And when I want an interview, it's not necessarily about, please give me an opportunity because I'm a lowly young boy child looking for an opportunity and a chance to get ahead, but it's, hey, here's what I can do for you.
Yeah.
Here's how I can create value for your business.
Yeah.
And I think our academic institutions are falling short of their responsibility to send people out into the world prepared to represent themselves that way,
Yeah.
right? You can talk as intelligently as you want to about any topic that appeared on your final exams, but when shit gets difficult and you start having to think critically and you have to start formulating solutions on the fly that you weren't taught in a formula in a textbook, what do you do?
There you go.
And I think, I think we just have to remain mindful of the fact that, the generation that our parents came from, and when I say our parents came from, I'm talking about people who are, let's just call them, say, 50, 55 plus.
Yeah.
Right? They came from a situation where they had to compete amongst each other in a way that our current youth don't have to compete with each other.
Yeah.
Right? So I just think that I mean, Natalie was spot on to say that it's shameful that so many youth can apply for jobs and claim to have expertise or abilities in certain areas that they haven't achieved, right?
Yeah.
Certificates, and I've gone to a short course and I've done this and that other thing. Those create an artificial sense of credibility that when the work now needs to be done, you're struggling to achieve. So I mean, I don't know where the solution starts with. Does it start with the employers who now need to elevate their level of, let's call it the strict standards by which they need to evaluate people when they're hiring them? If that's the case, nobody will get hired.
True.
Or is it on the universities who need to usher people into this world?
Yeah.
You know, but they need to be doing this based upon guidelines that are provided to them by the employing organizations that are going to be hiring these people.
Right.
Yeah.
So which one does this start?
Great point. That, actually. So just to answer what you've just asked, I think let's just give like a background to what we're talking about. So I've been through the Ugandan education system, unfortunately. But I've been through it. I did was like any other Ugandan, primary school, secondary, and then university. But yeah, I do think the big problem is with the universities, because I feel like secondary at least tries to help you to be something. And when you compare our secondary to the Kenyan version, Kenyans study up to Form 4 and they stop and just go to uni. Like a 16-year-old can just go to uni. And that's just shocking to me, because like you're not even of age yet and you're already at university. Whereas in Uganda, you do O level from senior 1 to senior 4, and then you do senior 5 and senior 6. So that's like 2 extra years for you to be an adult and get your shit together.
Yeah.
And figure out what you want to do in life, because that's when you pick a combination and do what. But I can also say I feel like our education system is traditional. It's old school. You know, it's like they pile you with all these, you know, learn this, cram this, understand this. It's not about understanding. It's more like
memorizing.
Thank you. Memorize what you can and pass the exam. Even if you don't understand it, as long as you can memorize it. Because I remember when we were going for exams, you didn't need to understand. You just knew this question has this answer. Then you get like a word, let's say maintain, and then say M is this, then A will be this, and then the T will be, you know, something like that. So that's how most Ugandans go through school. And then when you get to university and you think it's going to be a bit different, it's the same thing. Now let me put my university on the spot, because these people had us studying 8 course units. Well, other universities were doing like 4 course units. Just you do what's needed. But my university made it a point for every semester to have you redo English, math, and ethics. So those are like 3 course units you don't need to be doing, but they are mandatory. It's a must for you to do them in every semester. Like you have to do it. Like when I tell people this, they think I'm joking. No, you had to do. So let's say semester 1 is like English. Then the second semester will be literature. Then you go the next year, it's business English. Then the next time it's like communication skills and whatnot. It's just like, it's a bit much. So I feel like the Ugandan universities do a bit much. And then when you check other universities and how they're doing it, in regards to internship, the internship is more like, just make sure they, wherever you're doing your internship from, they sign the paper so that you can just go back to uni and say, I did this internship here.
Yeah.
So if someone doesn't take it upon themselves to like say, you know what, I need to get serious with my internship and maybe go to a company where I can learn something, then it gets a bit tricky, because half the time you just want to take your paper and say, I did internship for these months and that's it. And that's all I did. But then also, I think there's some Ugandan employers who make it a point to say, if you didn't do well in school, you must have been playing around. You can find kids who don't do well in school, but they're brilliant, you know? They just don't necessarily do well in school. But outside school, they're brilliant. But because on your degree, you didn't get GPA. You didn't get the GPA that they wanted, and now that's an issue, you know? It's like, I'm only taking people with first class. Yeah. Well, someone in second class could have done something for you, and here you are just stuck on people with first class. Half the time, no offense to people who get the first class, they're nerds and they're just bookworms. You know, that's how they get they get ahead, you know. And it's like they don't even have communication skills. They can't even become social or anything like that.
Right.
So first, I think it's the education system, the higher education systems, and then the employers who are old school and they're traditional. So I think they need to change that. If that can be changed, I think that could be something.
Yeah. What will it take for that to change? Because listening to yourself, Jonita, and listening to my friends, my Ugandan friends in the industry I'm in, which is the entertainment industry, it seems like there's a lot of succeeding in spite of, not because of. Yeah. So how can you get these two, I don't know if this is the right word, factions, like the employers and universities to get together to make something, you know, that benefits students?
Yeah.
Jonita,
I think it would start from the minister. But we all know how are in this country. It's like, how are you putting someone in? Let me not. How are you putting someone in charge of education yet they're not they don't know what teachers go through? That they don't have any background in teaching. They just have a position and then they have a target to hit and they're just gonna tick some things off and that's it. So I think I don't know honestly.
Can I jump in that? Like it's a great question. I think like in the United States, you know, Uganda, if you look at its economy, like many countries in sub-Saharan Africa, it's an agricultural-based economy. And also, I think with some of the traditional leanings of parents of the older generation, like I went to medical school. I was a bachelor's of biology. And, you know, a lot of people I noticed here, like my mom, when I told her I was doing well on YouTube, she was more able to understand it. But I think if you were to say that here as a Ugandan, people don't respect it as much. So these new emerging industries are not as respected from African parents. Yeah. So you have a child that may want to be a creative or a dancer or a film producer. And until you go out and prove it that you're Don Jazzy and Afro beats or something like that, your parents are not going to take you seriously. Whereas in America, we know Hollywood is a real thing. Music is a real thing. Yeah. So let's say, for example, you don't want to be a cardiologist, but you become very successful. Then we Americans understand that, okay, well, you're a great singer, so it's okay you don't want to be a cardiologist. But I don't think that's the case here. I think what you have here is that you have industries that can be highly lucrative, but that people just don't respect as careers.
Yeah.
So what we do here on the Kinganda podcast, the people on look at the audience that watch this. Where are they from?
UK.
That's the biggest audience.
The USA.
The United States, Canada, Uganda is just a 3.8%. Which means that either Ugandans are not interested in what we're talking about or they don't take it that serious. Because YouTube is not a career. Podcasting is not a career. So if you're and even the farming, which is lucrative, isn't, for some people in Africa, it's a downgrade. Like you're a farmer. It's like just now becoming more popular. So what happens is that you have these industries that are not organized. If you go to Kenya, their entertainment industry is highly organized.
Yeah.
South Africa is more organized and Nigeria is the pinnacle. You have even people coming from UCLA School of Film and they can come back and get a job in the studio in Nigeria. But that's not possible in Uganda. The entertainment industry here doesn't exist, and it's anarchy in the industry. There's nobody developing the industry. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you want to develop an industry, a few things need to happen. First, that person must believe in the industry. The person who just the progenitor of the industry has to invest in the industry such that it exists, which is hard for somebody to sacrifice for the industry of others. But we've seen it happen in most countries that are the first world now. Somebody believed that there was an opportunity, which was not tech, Bill Gates, dare I say, Steve Jobs, dare I say.
Yeah.
Those are people that, I mean, you look at what Steve Jobs did, not even Apple, at Pixar. Didn't come back to Apple because he got fired. But you don't have people doing that here in Uganda. I mean, you have Nabwiso Films, but there would be there would be a group that's like not indicative of the norm. They're doing something that's out of the loop. Yeah. Then how do you train somebody for as an editor for DSTV or Pearl Magic? Let's say, for example, those people are paying money. How do you track their progress? How do you know they're good? That's something that we don't talk about. And then what are the machines that they need to be good in the entertainment industry? What's the investment that's required? If you're an editor, you need Adobe Lightroom. You might need Adobe Premiere. You might need Adobe After Effects. You might need Blender, things like that. Right. Those are things that you need to have. But then you're also having a passion for that industry where your family or nobody takes you serious. So you have burgeoning industries happening in this country that are coming up that though, look at South Korea. How do we know about South Korea so much? South Korea doesn't just produce Samsung and LG. What does South Korea produce? What's that one show on Netflix they have?
What was it?
Squid Game.
Squid Game.
Squid Game.
Physical 100, Squid Game.
Yeah.
Squid Game.
So many shows.
At first, South Korea was just technology.
Train to Busan. Yo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yo.
So at one point, South Korea said, we're too smart at technology. We need to go to entertainment. And so the South Koreans were under somewhat of a dictator. They're still capitalist, but dictatorship. So their kids started going to UCLA School of Film, USC. And what do you get now? Now they're Squid Game. So what happened with South Korea? Their tourism. And remember, Uganda used to give South Korea aid, and Kenya used to too. But because they went and so you don't have industries in Africa that appreciate these burgeoning industries, and you have no way of developing people in the sea. Okay, you were good today. Are you good in 3 months? It doesn't exist here.
Quick question to ask you, O'Shea. Do you think it's in a lack of appreciation or just no foresight?
I think it's number one. One thing you can't deal with anywhere in the world, if it works, is the productivity is the truth. Mm-hmm. I think as the black world and us who will be categorized in entertainment, mm-hmm. we want somebody to take us serious. What do we need to do as a podcast? Get a Spotify deal. Yeah. All right. Then we can go to McCary and say, got a Spotify deal. So they will say, all right, we take you guys serious too. Have an internship plan with sound. Why do you do with DSTV? Like DSTV, nobody took them serious before too, probably, I'm sure. Cable TV, what is that? The average African doesn't do, But when you produce results. I think us, like, in the black world that are in these different, like I said, I'm a medical doctor by trade, by whatever, right? But most Africans parents teaching their kids to go to medical school, engineering, law. Yeah. Okay. But that's not where you're getting the big boost from the economy. Mm-hmm. It's trade, it's entertainment, it's these other things, financial institutions. So you have to prove what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And we can hypothesize all we want, but if you can't prove it, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So if we can prove that these things work, then you can go to the schools and say we need to get, harness that, because Uganda has a lot of manpower.
Yeah.
Right?
Very
power. Like Jonita's brother is one of our best, one of our most productive people. He didn't know how to edit. But we have the systems there, and he's the drives, he edits. Okay, but do you have the infrastructure to put these people into place to do something? Mm-hmm. And that comes from you can't go to the government like, Museveni, I need $10 million to buy all these computers. What is the private sector? The private sector has to want to compete and to want to develop. What you see here, I think, is you have a few people in the private sector in this, they're developing.
Yeah.
But you don't see an industry growing like you see in Kenya or South Africa or Nigeria.
Yeah.
Whereas you see people that have hands on the industry, but there's more collaboration in the industry. Mm-hmm. But in Uganda, there's one or two key players and that's it. Yeah. So you don't get the development of the industry.
Yeah.
I want to piggyback on that if I can, because I think there's a huge distinction to be made as well between people who are trying to operate in the big business context.
Yes.
Right? If I'm aspiring to work for a large corporation, MTN,
yes,
Stanbic Bank,
yes,
Uganda Breweries, whatever, right? That's an entirely different scenario than 99% of the people that are going to come out of university and probably try and get a job in a small business.
Yes.
Right? And here's the thing about small business mentality that also makes it difficult for us. Number one, if I'm the type of a small business owner that is the most common, I'm trying to cut as many costs as I can.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to invest in developing talent, right? I'm going to find somebody who can do the most rudimentary version of what it is that I need to be done.
Yes.
I'm not going to hire an accountant. I'm going to hire somebody who knows how to punch buttons on a calculator and do simple mathematical calculations, right? I'm not going to hire an IT guy. I'm going to hire a guy who knows how to. So it's like so many people are trained in a context of being led by business people who don't have a vested interest in training up excellent people.
Right.
And a lot of the people who start small businesses also start small businesses with the ambition of being small, right?
Yes,
You said the onus is upon the private sector. When you draw comparisons to, in Kenya and other places, in those other places, people start a business that is small at the beginning, but they have the intention of growing a big business, right?
Yes.
A lot of people here are just like, I want my small business, I want to maintain that, and I'm easy. I'm good. You know what I mean? The other thing is that I find that the people who I recognize, like my peers, my colleagues who I work with, right? I work with the biggest alcohol manufacturer and distributor in Uganda, right? And there are so many excellent and brilliant people that I see on a daily basis who bust their ass to achieve and earn upliftment in their careers.
Yes.
Right? But I look at them as the outliers.
Outliers, right? Absolutely.
I work in an entire organization of outliers.
Yes.
An entire company of outliers. These are people who walked into the university campus determined that, I'm going to make something of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
These are people who are 16, 17, 18 years old, waking up and grinding and doing what they need to do because they're determined to do so. Those unstoppable bunch are the ones who are the senior leaders, the managers, the most successful people. And mind you, a lot of these corporations are also just recycling that same crop of people. As much as the universities crank out thousands upon thousands of yearly graduates, right? These companies aren't hiring that many new people.
That's true.
And so they're just cycling the same manager who goes from Stanbic Bank, goes to DFCU, goes to Citibank, goes to Standard Chartered, goes to ABSA. The guy has the same role in 7 different banks in 5 years.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Got you.
So that's another thing. I think, to me, the onus is upon the Human Resource Managers Association of Uganda. They're the ones who are hiring, evaluating, and developing the talent that is going to take the corporations that build this country to the next level, right? That group of individuals are the ones who understand the gaps that exist in the yearly crop of fresh graduates that are coming out of the universities. They're the ones who vet their applications, who invite them to apply for internships, who invite them to apply for these graduate programs, get thousands upon thousands of applicants every year and have to turn the majority of them away to only pick the outliers. So I feel like the onus really sits with the HR Managers Association of Uganda, because this is a wide-ranging group of wide-ranging industries, from oil and gas, telcos, banking, FMCG, manufacturing, hospitality, you name it. So there should be a concerted effort on the part of these folks to sit together and be like, listen here, we have a crisis on our hands. Okay. Every year, there are thousands of unemployable youth who come into the workforce. And it's our responsibility to not only make sure that we find jobs for them, but we need to advocate to these universities that are teaching them how best they need to be taught. And so the universities and the chancellors and all the academic deans and all of these heads of these programs need to hear from these HR managers, these HR administrators, and be told, this is what needs to be done. You know what I mean?
This is what we need.
But again, a lot of these universities are government funded, right? So they're going to continue to get their funding no matter what anyway. Right? So it's tricky.
Yeah, it is. Even the private universities, because I went to a private university, but they did have people, we had like career day and whatnot. So they did have people come and talk to us and tell us what we need to do and whatnot. So maybe that helped. But just to piggyback on what O'Shea was saying about parents wanting their kids to like have traditional jobs. For the first 2 years when I was working with Kengana, my mom, My parents didn't understand what I was doing. Mm-hmm. They didn't understand it. So what I used to do is I would tell them I work for an NGO because that they understood.
Yeah.
But they didn't understand, what do you mean you do YouTube? Like YouTube is not that popular in Uganda at that for the old generation. It's like, what do you mean you go on camera and you say something? Like, if it's not TV, then what are you doing? You know? It's like they didn't understand that aspect. I even had my uncle tell me one time, when do you work or when will you get a real job? Because like to him, this wasn't a job.
Yeah.
And even now, when I tell people, I work for a YouTube channel, they look up, it's like, is there money? Because they don't understand that aspect of it. But then it's also the fact that they're quite narrow, like they're limited in what kind of job you need to have.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Because there's up with, we're in the same neighborhood, but she works for a TV station and she but she earns less, you know. It's not a diss at her. I do love her. But they keep comparing me to her. It's like, you work for a YouTube channel, but this one works for TV, so you should follow her, reach out to her, you know, like, try and get something with her. You understand? Mm-hmm. But they don't understand, you know, what it is.
That person wants to work for us, probably.
Right. Yeah.
Let me just say this because you're off, because Jonita is a very talented. You know, I like Jonita in almost like the daughter I never wanted, or you know, just kind of that kind of thing, right? Yeah. It kind of happened like that. But now, one of the things I noticed when Jonita became our manager in 2018, she still has that kind of aspect here. But 2018 or 2019,
2019.
The first thing she gave me a big report, which the other managers never did. So it's like, okay, here are the details. This is what was paid and everything. Didn't really understand the business. Like, Jonita can read YouTube analytics better than most YouTubers. And she understands everything. But she didn't know, but she was willing to learn. Yeah, we had some problems here and there. Yeah. But the raw potential and the intellectualism and it was there.
Yeah.
Now, it took a little longer than I wanted to be here, you know. There was a lot of, you know.
Has to bring you.
But you know, but what I'm saying is that, you know, Jonita could do any job in this country.
That's right.
Now, I can comfortably say that now. And how many people can we say that about in Uganda? My manager now is Rachel. I met Rachel working and cleaning rooms at an apartment complex. And now, how smart is she? How smart is Jonita? But these are people the country didn't give an opportunity. They basically cast these people away as if they were nothing for whatever reason. So Tati in Kenya, these are people that were talented in the country. So what I'm saying is, how many people, and you never know, like even somebody like me, I have the best grades in school all the time. But that doesn't mean that I can't. Sometimes people are late bloomers. Mm-hmm. They may not be serious then. Don't mean they're going to be serious now. Right? And now I can guarantee you, most of the people I went to school with in biology, you want to compare incomes, I will smoke you. They embarrass you every day of the week. I got friends that are dentists that like, yo, bro, if I could do what you're doing, I would do it. You know what I mean? Dental surgeons, you know? So I think with people is like, and I thank God for my mom never giving up on me. That's why I never give up on anybody else, because you never know who they're going to become.
Right.
Yeah, and I think what this country is, you have all this talent, and if the person has the will and the desire and they pay attention to detail, that person can build and lead an industry. And I've seen it. You're going to have so many talented people that are driving Ubers or Bodas. True. Like one of the best conversations I ever heard was a guy on a Boda driver. And, you know, you just think like, this guy's a Boda. He's like, you know, he must not be somebody, he's a Boda. But those are some of the best political debates you can get, because society has cast these people away. And these are the people that are going to create the jobs. Most entrepreneurs in America, if you look at people like Michael Dell didn't graduate college. He was smart enough to get into college, I think at University of Austin, Texas, but he dropped out. Bill Gates.
Right.
Obviously, Bill Gates had a 1600 essays. He's smart. Mark Zuckerberg.
Right.
So these people are smart, but these people take risks, which entrepreneurs do, that create jobs. Then you have entrepreneurs. What's this guy that owns the Clippers now? He's also Microsoft.
Steve Ballmer. Same way.
So these guys are not entrepreneurs, but they're entrepreneurs. Yep. Like number 17 hired at, Microsoft. Susan Wojcicki, that was at YouTube, Google. So people like me might not necessarily be 4.0 students, but we're 5.0 students when it comes to dealing with people. Yeah. And then we see the opportunity such that this guy, like for example, this guy a guy, man, that's the guy swinging the bat. Like, bring this guy on the podcast. I mean, even though that's the truth, but I'm just saying, like, I'm just giving an example. We come in and we put things that we risk that nobody thought was there. And then we build on that. And that allows somebody like a Jonita, who I would put her in an entrepreneur class, they come in and you build the industry and they come in and they finish it. They organize it. And they say, okay, boss, this needs to be here, 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 because now they understand it. They come in and start changing it. Like, and then their insight develops things in the ways you would never have done. And so that's what Uganda is missing. Uganda is basically being reluctant on the people that innovate, but you got to have the infrastructure first. And you'd be surprised how Ugandans have as much talent. I would tell people all day, Nigeria, South Africa, no disrespect to those people, but hey, Uganda can swing the back too. But do you have the capability to let them swing the back?
Facts.
They will come in and change the industry and build on the industry. Yeah. But also in entertainment, I will say this one thing too, is like entertainment, some industries here, financial industries. Like you go to Ghana or Nigeria, you can go and you can spend your money and just say, okay, I want to spend $35 million on poultry farming. Just in Uganda. Mm-hmm. And you get your money 40% profits in like 6 months. It's guaranteed. Those are somebody who did fintech in agriculture. It doesn't exist in Uganda. It exists in Nigeria and Ghana though. You can go to, I think, what's this place called? Piggy Safe. It's like an app in Nigeria. You can literally buy Nigerian bonds through that PiggyVest, rather, Nigeria. Where is that person in Uganda? Doesn't exist. Yeah. So my thing is, you got to have those entrepreneurs to come in and make entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. They can swing the bat and let the people develop them, and, but it's not here yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Insane.
Yeah, O'Shea, spot on, brother. From this episode and listening to everyone, my fear is that the opportunity is going to be missed. The window is going to shut soon because you have very talented Ugandans.
Oh, yes.
And a very young average age.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And if you take those two things I just said and empower that, moving forward, your country is going to be looked after.
Yeah.
Because of the talent. But I just feel like it's being overlooked, maybe somewhat undervalued and just underappreciated, and just be like, and that's my fear for Uganda, that the opportunity in the window of opportunity is going to be missed.
Oh, let me say this real quick.
Yeah, sure.
People are going to lose, and then also, I just want to forget, but people are going to lose confidence in their abilities.
Yeah. Well, it's already happening. There's a talent drain. Like, remember
there's no hope in Africa. There's no hope in Africa.
My boy was taken. German companies saw his talent, took him, sent him to Germany for 2 years, trained him up, brought him back, and then he's working in Ginger on a German project. That's what's going to happen. Yep. It's just going to be a talent drain.
Yeah. But then also,
don't want that.
Yeah. Sorry, but then also it's like, if you're a student and you're out there, I think you should also, no one is going to help you. Or you can see the government, if your government is not doing anything for you, then you should be able to help yourself. I remember I was at uni, and then the first day we got the orientation week, there was a girl who didn't have an email. How do you not have an email? Who doesn't have an email? It's like, what do you, how are you moving without an email, and you're going to university and you do not have an email? And then speaking of emails, people send you emails without a subject. Like, come on now. It's like the simple things that you have to care for yourself and do certain things, It's like if the university is not providing a certain particular thing, then maybe it should be up to you to like do that particular thing. So with me, I have a degree in business administration and management. Someone would think, I would need a journalism degree to do what I'm doing right now. But you have to be open-minded. You can't just restrict yourself to like one thing. So just because you did business, you must become a business person and whatnot. So I think you have to help yourself before the government ever decides to help you, if it does.
And governments, that's not what governments do. Governments don't create jobs.
Yeah.
Governments regulate the ability for businesses to do business more freely or easier based on their policies. But governments are not job creators.
Yeah.
Private sectors are job creators. What we're doing here is the private sector. And the private, for example, Ford, you made the Ford car. You made the Model T. Then the roads came after. So private sector pushes government, and we have to, as the world, stop asking government to create jobs because they don't. The private sector and collaboration we create in the diaspora is huge in the African community. I mean, we have more money than what we can count.
Yeah.
We're the sleeping giant of the world. So once we start to create the systems, we'll get a better outcome. We have to stop blaming African governments for every failure.
Yeah.
When the private sector doesn't engage, when the private sector can dictate what the government could do. But the private sector doesn't want to engage in the industries. Every industry is important in the private sector. So stop asking for the government to bail you out. When, for example, if I have a buddy that's Farm Up. If I ever ask Farm Up, is there opportunity in poultry? He goes, yes. In what value chain? There's many, right? There's layers, there's hatching,
broilers.
Mm-hmm. So how much money is there? I know a guy that has he makes like 3,000 or 4,000 layers per day, Ugandan. So that didn't stop him from, the government didn't stop him from doing that, right? So what you do with the profits is your business, and so we had to invest into the industries to create better talent. That's not the government's fault. It's the private sector's fault. And once the private sector can prove to the government that this is actual industry, just like Nigeria had to do for Nollywood, hey, they wouldn't buy movies. It wasn't Baba Ginda or Sani Abacha when Nollywood started getting popular said, okay, we're going to put the money. No, the private sector proved that this is what they wanted. Then we can get behind Afrobeats. Okay, this is this actual industry. It brings them in revenue. So let's make this industry a priority. And we blame African governments so much for things that we won't do as the private sector. We need to develop the private sector and raise the standard because the government is doing government things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the issue also.
Yeah. Let's any last remarks, guys?
Not really. No, just like
There's
what
no
I what.
hope?
Yeah, no, that is no hope. But it's something opportunity. I feel an opportunity that needs to be seized, and I just hope some way, somehow it is. That's my last.
I mean, I think my look on what is going to save this next generation of youth from this fate are programs like this, right? I think, I hate this word, but normalizing the conversation around finding solutions to the problem.
Yes.
Right? Too many people complain without proposing the solution.
Hello.
Too many people complain without wanting to be a part of the solution. If you're not contributing to the solution, fuck up.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I feel like as this conversation deepens, right? As more people start tuning into conversations like the Repat podcast, like Kenganda Nation, like what you guys are just generally doing to empower people and introduce a different type of a dialogue, right? I think business owners will wake up. Private sector leaders will wake up. I think young people will also start looking at themselves, looking within themselves and say, you know what? I can be that outlier. I can be that girl, or I can be that guy who's a shining example of no matter what the circumstance, no matter what I've had to pass through, I'm going to succeed because I'm made of that material. I'm built for this. So I think, entertainment has a lot to do with it. I think education through digital media has a lot to do with it. I think, like I said, make being smart cool.
Yes.
Make being capable cool.
Right.
Right? Let's make that what is celebrated.
Right.
So I think I'm looking forward to seeing that shift through more platforms like this coming up. I'm going to be optimistic about it.
And I'm just going to end it. When I look at the Africa Free Trade Agreement and what's going on, and countries ratifying it, because it's a passion of mine, seeing how that's developing, $3.4 trillion trading block, which will be the biggest by far in the world. And our diaspora is not even included in that. We have the most money and most swing out of anybody. in the world. So when I look at doing black business or business in Africa, literally I don't have to see anybody else ever again and have enough money that I can't count. I never worry about money when it comes to blacks. We have the money. We have the most money on planet Earth. We have the population that's too strong, and we have too much talent. The issues with us is we don't have the loyalty to our talented group, and you can only develop as a group as far as your talented people lead you. So if you have elites at the top who are stupid, you're still dumb. We don't need our talent misplaced. We need our best talented people working for Africa and not working for the whites, or working in Black America and not working for the whites. So then what are we offering them? What is our incentivization process? So once we can do that, the money is there. I mean, the money in Africa that's the one thing I never worry about with blacks is money. I'm running from the money sometimes, and I'm broke, right? So we have the money. So the blacks, we don't have to. Poor people worry about money. Rich people worry about opportunity. We have to start thinking about opportunity because the money is already there. It's too much. So now with that, how do you get more money? You can only get more money by innovation and a better delivery of service and products. Yeah. You can only get that with talent. How do you identify talent? You can't identify talent with grades. That's one way. But you can identify talent. Like, look at Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. She just lost the mayoral candidate. But look at all of the things she did before she became mayor. Mm-hmm. There was a big track record of what she had to do to become mayor. So if somebody can do those things and you can track record and all the stuff, the best person you're going to get is not always going to be educated. This person that created this podcast didn't go to film school. It was JSBK. He created the Repat podcast. I said, hey, I'm looking for a template. We were doing it totally different. And that person's not even in Africa right now. But that person created this template where we're getting thousands, 100,000 views a month. A guy who went to Alabama and A&M and studied something completely different than film, but took an interest and has a different keen eye in seeing something that tradition didn't teach him. Joe Leader didn't go to school for this. Neither did I. You're a DJ. You're just great. Right? But none of us that are pushing these conversations forward went to school for journalism or film school. Yeah. Yet the opportunity is we're giving jobs to people that went to film school. Same thing with Elon Musk. Elon Musk dropped out of Stanford in a PhD program, but he employs over 500 MBAs. Some of the smart people that are coming up are not going to be entrepreneurs. Not everybody has a vision to stay up like me, 35,000 hours a day and push us forward. You need the people, though, that are going to come in and they want to have a life and they're very smart, but they don't want to manage the business or be, like doing business anywhere in the world. You have to have a lot of soft skills, the ability to talk and convince people, have the vision to be able to work with people. God gave some people innate gifts he didn't give others. Sometimes you learn them, sometimes you already have them. That's how business works anywhere in the world. All right, you can do this, you can do that. I see this in you. I have innate ability in you. You can work for me. You create great relationships. That's business people. Yeah. But some of the talented people, I had a professor, Dr. Thomas Hambright at Howard University. He's an inorganic chemist. He's a genius. Went to University of Chicago. It's a great school. Yeah. He wasn't the head of the chemistry department. Mm-hmm. Didn't like people. So I say that because people like me who are not the most academically gifted are some of the most mavericks in the business world, in the black business world that will be coming up. Yeah. Like yourself or us. Yeah. But we need those people who are smarter than us because we can be dumb, right? We don't see everything. Entrepreneurs have a big vision, but talent makes the vision come to life. And we got a lot of people in Africa that can swing the bat in Black America. I would love to see us as a company say, you went to Howard Film School? Fuck America, come to Uganda and work in our studio.
That'd be amazing.
It'd be great. Because we have the money. We have the money to say, MGM wants to give you what? 40,000? Because in Hollywood, you hold for Hollywood for years, interning for like 18 hours a day, getting nothing. Come to Africa.
Put a date on it.
Yeah, come to Africa.
Put a date on it.
When we're going to do it?
Yeah.
What's the day?
Today is March 9th. Yeah. By the way, the greatest rapper of all time.
2026, 3 years.
Christopher Wallace.
Less than that.
Rest in peace, Christopher Wallace.
It's his birthday today.
No, the anniversary of his passing.
Oh, okay. He died in 1997, right? 98?
97, yes.
Yeah, I was in
But
high
okay, so March 9th, 2023. Put a date on it. When
26.
When are you going to hire your Howard graduate?
2026.
2026.
But you got to be on the podcast that long because I need you to get all this money.
Okay.
Shout out to Brigham.
You got it.
Yeah.
So we can do that. We have the money. I'm being long with it. We have the money. Africa has the money. The Black Rabbit. We are the greatest diaspora in the world. Without a doubt. We have all the money. We can hire people that can do that stuff. Okay. So once we can do that, then why is this car catching up?
Okay, perfect. That's well said. Yeah. Great. Make sure someone reminds him. Maintain, where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at DJ Maintain on all social mediums.
I got it.
At Master Gabs on Instagram and Twitter. Agaba Tumusime on Facebook. And check out the Allergic to Average podcast as well if you're interested.
O'Shea?
I'm just reaching my bag. I got to pay these people to be here today. They need their money, so I got to go.
Yeah. But yeah,
Deuces.
Guys, let us know what you think in the comment section. You can also chime in and, tell us what's the solution, because, we come together and come up with solutions. That's what we're going to do on this podcast. Okay. Make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms at King Under Nation. Also subscribe to this particular channel and subscribe to the Pan-African Dating Show. We'll see you guys next time.